Just watch the movie before this! It's a spoiler review! Avengers Infinity War has just been released in theaters, and man has it been hyped up to an almost unimaginable height for the past few years. It sees the Avengers reuniting once more, but this time, teaming up with the Guardians of the Galaxy to face off against the bad guy Marvel's been building up for 6 years now. And if he gets his hands on all 6 Infinity Stones, it basically means it's game over for everyone. These guys had so much on their shoulders. Forget about all those questions like who is your favorite character or who should have died for a second, because as a film, as a movie, they had to give everyone in here something relevant to do. They got Iron Man, they got Captain America, they got Thor, they got Black Panther, they got Spider-Man, they got Doctor Strange, the Hulk and his entire
they got
Black
Hawkeye,
Widow, they got
Thanos,
they got Groot. And on top of all of that, they had 18 Marvel movies they had to make sure they didn't contradict. So the fact that the movie was even made is something to commend these directors for. Usually when it comes to movies where there's multiple stories happening all at once, there's always that one plotline that was just kind of bleh. But for this, nothing was like that. The movie kept jumping from scene to scene, and I didn't give a shit. Thanos is one of the best villains I've seen in a movie, period. Why? Because he felt more like the hero in this movie for some reason than anyone else. In some sick, twisted sense. He has the most screen time out of everyone, and that really helped in making you feel for him as a character. In fact, that kind of goes with what sort of rubbed me in the wrong way, but it was really unavoidable. They tried their best to give everyone just the right amount of screen time that you felt like some of your favorite characters were pretty much underused. Like, Captain America really didn't do much here. I mean, he fought and led the team, but his overall character arc was minimal when compared to everyone else's drama. But that's because most of them were underused, because there's just so much going on. And the ending, they got people thinking it was over after Thor came in. Wow, he got him, everyone. Clap, everyone, clap. But when he snapped his fingers, there were so many gasps like there was no more air in the room. Can we talk about this for a sec? We're pretty much sure Black Panther and Spider-Man are coming back, cause one is considered pretty much an icon in social political stuff, and one they don't even own the full rights to yet. Marvel literally shares Spider-Man with Sony still. What do you think they're gonna do? Kill him so Sony can't make any more Spider-Man movies? Screw that, Sony's probably gonna throw him into that Venom movie anyways. They don't care about the fans or continuity, but just seeing them fade away into nothingness, I was actually really impressed they had the guts to do that. They essentially gave us our first culturally significant black superhero, and they just take it away. It's like doing this to a baby. It was just that brief moment of seeing them perish that played into that factor. Thor was by far the best character in Infinity War. You never really got that true sense of how much power he had in him in everything before Ragnarok. But now they've pretty much said that he is the strongest Avenger out there. And it makes sense, because the first Avengers, Iron Man was a central character. The second, and this one could be argued, but Steve was the main protagonist. And then the third one, it's Thor. The only ones that survived at the end was everyone from 2012, plus these two, and minus these two. Basically, the only prediction I had going into this that proved to be correct was Loki dying. And that happened in the first 5 minutes, so the whole movie was just a plethora of WTF moments. None of the big 3 died, and my Soul Stone guesses were dead wrong. No one got that one. On top of all of that, the way it ended was the one ending I least expected them to do. But they had the balls to do it, and I don't even know what to say anymore. One thing they got right was how they did Thanos. Thanos always felt like a natural disaster, a freak of nature. There wasn't any stopping him. The only real one that posed a threat was Thor, and that was towards the end. And even then, he only got a hit marker on him. For those of you wondering why these two weren't on the poster, well, that was because it was a symbol of their presence in the movie, which was non-existent.
We did not forget.
I want to talk about some of the characters that made some pretty poor decisions. The plot pinned so much crap on Starlord's character just by having him throw such a tantrum. In Civil War, Tony sorta kinda had the same issue, but there wasn't really any consequences to that, so that wasn't too big of a problem. But in this case, it's different. He basically cost trillions of lives to be lost. In those 30 seconds, he became so unlikable. He's still an alright character, and I get that emotions got over him, but they were so close in taking off the gauntlet. I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way either. Making him the sole reason as to why half the universe is dead just makes him look like an idiot. It was just 3 more seconds, and he couldn't help himself. That was just the character writing for him. The various plots all melded together, I really dug. There were a few visuals that did look a little shoddy, especially when Team Iron Man first landed on Titan, but for the most part, that wasn't even really a problem. The Black Order was fine. The only one that seemed kinda cool was Ebony Maw, just cause he had so much smarm whenever he was talking trash to Tony and Strange.
Squidward? Yeah, Squidward.
Now the only real gripe I had with this movie was that Thanos' motivation wasn't very clear to me. Well, I mean, it was, but reflecting on the whole thing, it just doesn't make too much sense. Hear me out here. I get that he sees his goal as a solution to a problem. He thinks wiping out half of the universe's life out there will solve problems of overpopulation and limited resources. More power to him for that. But what he's willing to do to go that far is what I'm talking about. They cemented the idea that Thanos loves Gamora above everything else in the movie, which I loved, because it benefited the development of his character and made him way more interesting than just the guy from the post-credit scenes. So his ultimate goal is to save people from overpopulation and to find balance, right? So what he's trying to do is better for the greater good, because he thinks he's right. Except it isn't. What I'm getting at is that they did explain why he was doing things, but to me, they never showed why he was so willing to sacrifice everything for it. His motivation alone didn't seem enough for him to be willing to kill the one thing he loves more than life itself. He didn't seem like he would gain anything from his plan. Do you see what I'm getting at? He lost more than what he gained. The cons outweighed the pro. Every time he kept talking about balance, I just kept hearing,
I need it!
I still love this movie, yo. I'm probably gonna watch it 10 times over. This isn't a rant on Infinity War. I loved the twists and turns they took in this. They're really going out of their way this time to deceive you through the trailers nowadays. That's not in the movie, that's been edited, and that's been fixed. The best action scene by far was on Titan when they were all gangbanging Thanos. I fully believed Tony was gonna die when he got stabbed by Thanos. But that would have been too predictable apparently, so they didn't go that way and opted for the newcomers. What I really dug from this is that you feel the sense of urgency, that things were dire, and plans failed, sacrifices failed, and as tragic as all that was, it carried a blitz wave of emotions that made the cliffhanger of an ending so satisfying. Lastly, cameos. I would have never guessed Red Skull would return in this movie. I honestly thought that was Hugo Weaving at first, the guy who played him in the first Captain America movie, but it was actually this guy. The reason why I didn't expect him to show up again is because he said he didn't really like working with Marvel, but either way, really dope to see him back. And Stan Lee was cool too. We also saw that Nick Fury and Maria Hill disintegrated from the gauntlet, which then led to our first nod to Captain Marvel in this world. And all it does is make me more hyped for Captain Marvel than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Also, this has nothing to do with the movie itself, but the timeline. When they're bickering to one another, Tony says to Doctor Strange that Thanos has been haunting his mind for the past 6 years, meaning the events of the first Avengers did indeed take place in 2012. So that 8 years later title card in Spider-Man Homecoming was nothing but a typo. So what do I think will happen after this? Well, because they said Avengers 4 and Avengers 3 are 2 different films, I think they left the original Avengers alive for a reason. They focused on Thanos this whole movie to build up his character arc, and in Avengers 4, it's gonna shift narrative and focus more on the original main founding members of the Avengers, so they could somehow save everyone else that perished, with maybe some help from another captain. And then next year, I think one of the big 3 is gonna die. Who it's gonna be, I have no idea. But I do believe the ones that died before the ending of Avengers Infinity War will stay dead. So Loki, Heimdall, and Gamora. Not so sure on that last one though, but I want to hear what you have to say. What did you think of Infinity War? What were some things you loved and didn't love about it? Comment below and let me know. And while you're at it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, consider following me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And for more of my videos, just click right here.